All right, let's get right into it. What we're going to do is unpack the fundamental code that really determines financial worth. You can think of it as the DNA of value. And it's a concept that's, both deceptively simple and just profoundly powerful.
It all starts with a puzzle, really, one that lies at the very heart of finance. How can two brilliant analysts looking at the exact same company with the exact same data come up with valuations that are just worlds apart? One says 10 billion, the other says 20 billion. The answer isn't that someone made a mistake. It's that they're telling a different story about the future. And more importantly, it's about how they price time itself. So to solve that puzzle, we have to start at the very beginning with a single, non-negotiable axiom of all of finance. This is the bedrock. Everything, and I mean every valuation model, is built right on top of this.
We call it the time value of money, or TVM. And look, it's not just some formula in a textbook. Think of it more like the genetic code of financial value. It dictates that a dollar in your hand right now is fundamentally superior to the promise of that exact same dollar a year from now. It's a law as essential to finance as gravity is to physics. But why? Why is that law so ironclad?
Well, it really comes down to what you could call a triple threat. First up, opportunity cost. You can take today's dollar and invest it to earn a return. If you have to wait for it, you're forfeiting that potential growth. Second, there's inflation. The purchasing power of your money is constantly eroding. A dollar next year is simply going to buy you less stuff. And finally, and this is a big one, uncertainty. A promise of a future payment is just that, a promise. It carries risk. A dollar in your hand today, that's a sure thing.
So, okay, we've established that today's money is worth more, but how do we actually mathematically connect the present to the future? This is where we get into the mechanics of it all, the engines that really drive this principle.
And this table here illustrates it perfectly. You've got two sides of the same coin. On one side, there's compounding. That's a process of multiplication. It's about looking forward. You're trying to see what a sum of money today could grow into. It's asking the question, what if? Then, on the other side, you have discounting. And this is the absolute soul of valuation. It's a process of division. You're looking backward from a future promise to figure out its value today. It asks the much more immediate question, what is it worth right now?
Think of it like this. When we compound, we start with a known present value. We apply some force to it over time. That's the question mark. And we project an unknown future value. We're asking, what will this be worth down the road? But in valuation, we do the complete opposite. We start with an expected future value, a forecast of cash flows, which is, let's be honest, an art form in itself, and our job is to solve for the present value. We're asking, what is that future dream worth to me in my pocket right now? The entire discipline of valuation is really just about solving for what's inside those question marks. And the answer to that mystery variable is the discount rate. This single number is the bridge. It connects the present and the future. It's the variable that quantifies everything we've been talking about, the opportunity cost, the inflation, and the risk. It is, quite literally, the price of time and risk all rolled into one. And this brings us to the really interesting part. This is where the objective science of finance collides with the subjective art of human judgment. Because the discount rate, well, it isn't a number you just look up in a book. It has to be constructed piece by piece.
A discount rate is basically built from two key ingredients. First, you have the risk-free rate, which is usually tied to something like a government bond. This is the pure price of time. It's what you get paid just for waiting, with basically zero risk of not getting your money back. But of course, most investments aren't risk-free, so on top of that, we have to add a risk premium. This is the extra return you demand for taking on the specific uncertainty of that particular investment. You put those two together, and you get your total discount rate, the bare minimum return you need to make that investment worth your while. And this leads to the most important takeaway. It's this fundamental inverse relationship. As the perceived risk of an investment goes up, the discount rate you demand has to go up too. And because of how the math works, a higher discount rate always forces the calculated present value down. So more risk equals less value today. It's the market's way of punishing uncertainty. Okay, so now let's see how this one powerful idea becomes the engine behind pretty much every major valuation method that professionals use out in the real world. You know, what's really beautiful about this concept is its universality. I mean, look at this. It doesn't matter if you're doing a hugely complex discounted cash flow analysis for a multi-billion-dollar company, or calculating the net present value for a new factory, or just trying to price a simple government bond. The underlying engine is exactly the same. You forecast the future cash, you pick a discount rate that reflects the risk, and you pull it all back to today.
It's all the same language, just spoken in slightly different dialects. But here's the subtle layer, the part that honestly can trip up even the pros. In a typical DCF valuation, a staggering 60 to 80% of a company's calculated value, it doesn't come from the next 5 or 10 years of detailed forecasts you slaved over in a spreadsheet. No, it comes from a single number. It's called the terminal value, an estimate of the value of all cash flows from that point on forever. I mean, just think about that for a second. The vast majority of the company's worth is based on a single, highly sensitive assumption about the very distant future. This reliance on long-term assumptions is also how we connect all of this to something that feels totally different, like using valuation multiples. Think of the PE ratio. But it turns out they aren't so different after all. The formula for what's called a justified PE ratio, the one you see here, is derived directly from our time value of money principles. Its value is driven by K, our discount rate or risk, and G, the long-term growth rate. So a company with a high PE ratio isn't just expensive. The market is telling a story. It's saying it believes that company has a powerful combination of low risk and high future growth.
Which brings us all the way back to where we started. Valuation has the framework of a science, right? The math is precise. But the inputs, especially that discount rate and that long-term growth rate, they are products of human judgment about a future that we can't possibly know for sure. So is valuation a science or is it an art? Perhaps the truth is that it's the art of applying science to an uncertain world. It's not about finding the one right answer. It's about understanding the story that the numbers are trying to tell us about time, about risk, and ultimately about value.